won't believe what Jimmy Kimmel, late-night host, has said over this holiday break. He took to the airwaves in the United Kingdom, saying that United States had a very tyrannical and wonderful fascist 2025. This as he exercises his First Amendment right to free speech, saying somehow over in England that America is tyrannical when, of course, we all know what the UK is doing with free speech. So we're going to dissect Jimmy Kimmel's attitude and why I think he should never be canceled. I actually love that he's speaking this way. We're also going to take a look at the United Kingdom very quickly, and we'll wrap up with what we should be doing in 2026 with people like Jimmy Kimmel. Let's get to it. So here's the clip from Jimmy Kimmel talking to United Kingdom's Channel 4 about Donald Trump, the United States, and what he feels upon reflection for 2025 going into 26. Let's have a listen.
I honestly have no idea what's going on over there. I do know what's going on over here, though. And I can tell you that from a fascism perspective, this has been a really great year. Tyranny is booming over here. You may have read in your colorful newspapers, my country's president would like to shut me up because I don't adore him in the way he likes to be adored. The American government made a threat against me and the company I work for, and all of a sudden we're off the air. And because so many people spoke out, we came back. Our show came back stronger than ever. We won, the president lost, and now I'm back on the air every night. We are not bright. We're Americans. No one knows better than you. We're always just a little bit late to the game. But do we come through in the end? Maybe. Give us about 3 years, please. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for Spider-Man. Merry Christmas and happy holidays.
Just a quick interruption from the story. If you're an America First voter and you love President Trump, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel. If you could also like this video or leave a comment down below, all of that goes a long way to telling the algorithm to boost us. Believe me, the liberals, the YouTube algorithm, and everybody that isn't America First is trying to suppress our voice again. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now back to the story. So you need to see the role that Jimmy plays here. Obviously, almost everything that he said in there is factually untrue, and we'll get to that. But this is the thing that I think should bother all of us as Americans. What you represent American values, especially when many of these same values are under assault when you're speaking to other nations and other countries. In this instance, Jimmy is a multi-millionaire because of all of the amendments and protections that his speech brings. That's not the case in the United Kingdom. We all know that. We'll show you a perfect example of that. But what I really want to kind of set down here as the first pillar is just how this screams with irony and pomposity and an un-American attitude, unpatriotic one at that, and one that's also not grateful for what this country has done. It's offered Jimmy everything. And what does he do when he has a chance to speak about all of these opportunities? He says that we're not bright. We're Americans. And he thinks that that's funny. It's not funny, Jimmy. It leads to a bigger discussion. And this discussion is one that Joe Rogan has recently had as it relates to the lack of free speech that the United Kingdom has had and what they've done to people that have spoken up, even on social media. So this is the second ironic part of Jimmy going to the UK and their second largest TV station, Channel 4, and being un-American and talking about tyrannical threats, all while he has free speech. Let's hear what Joe Rogan has to say.
Particularly when you think about the UK, which has had more than 12,000 arrests for very mild social media posts.
Isn't that crazy? I mean,
Criticizing-
I can't believe that. I've been watching this stuff play out.
Fascinating, and the fact that our mainstream media is relatively silent on this is insane. You're seeing a complete, total attack on one of the most fundamental principles of the Western world, which is your ability to express yourself. and your ability to call out that you think that the policies that are being implemented in your country are destructive. That's people have always been able to do that. These people are not calling for violence.
Yep.
They're being arrested for wild things. People are being arrested for liking posts.
Yep.
They're being
So again, if Donald Trump was the tyrannical leader and the fascist leader that Jimmy Kimmel says, well, if he was in London or England, rather, he'd be put in jail for what he just did. So again, the irony of all ironies is that multi-millionaire Hollywood elite Jimmy Kimmel goes to the UK where they have over 12,000 arrests for social media posts that are critical of the regime in London. But Jimmy didn't find any irony in that, and Jimmy's really had a struggle session going on lately with the irony of his behavior. In fact, this is the truth. And this is what happened when Jimmy had a little observation with Donald Trump getting banned from social media and other right-wing pundits. So remember, this is just a few years ago under the Biden regime. And this is what Jimmy had to say about Donald Trump losing his voice to speak freely.
Trump has been suspended from Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and even Snapchat. But don't worry, Mr. President, there are still plenty of apps you do have access to. You still have Spotify to drown out the sound of millions of people cheering as you leave. You still have Pet Finder since you're on the outs with Mike Pence. You have Cameo, which will soon be your primary source of income. You can still play Among Us, a game where everyone accuses each other of being against them. You'd love it. You could play Pokemon Go. You and Donnie Jr. can hunt Pikachus together. And when no one else wants you, don't forget, there's always your old friend, the Domino's Pizza Tracker. Not only did Trump get banned from Twitter, Google, Apple, and Amazon removed the Parler app from their platforms. Parler is where all the right-wingers gather to post QAnon nonsense and misspell the word parlor. And no one was more upset about Parler going away than a sneaky little congressman named Devin.
But it's more than just the financial aspect to that. Republicans have no way to communicate. I have 3 million followers on Parler. Tonight, I will no longer be able to communicate with those people.
I mean, other than being on Fox News right now. Why does Devin Nunes always look like somebody knocked his ice cream out of his hand? Trumpers are complaining bitterly that they're being silenced. In fact, they won't shut up about being silenced. On their 3 propaganda TV networks, on 1,000 conservative radio shows, all over the internet, they are screaming about being silenced. They won't be silent about being silenced.
So again, the role that Jimmy Kimmel is playing here, and you can see that the irony of all ironies is that Jimmy had no sympathy for anybody on the right wing or the conservative pundits when they lost their voice. But Jimmy's highly sensitive to Donald Trump and his being taken off the air, specifically when he had this to say about Charlie Kirk's recent event. I'll say that to try to be fair to the algorithm and the censors. This is what got Jimmy in heat and what ultimately took him off the air for a few days. Jimmy hinted at this in the first clip, but let's see the real facts.
We had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
So you can see here, this is the lead-in clip to Jimmy's first monologue coming out of the Charlie Kirk event in Utah. Was he sympathetic? No. Was he funny? Not even remotely, which he shouldn't be with something so severe. When you have somebody who's not even a politician go through what Charlie Kirk did, and especially when you make note of how Charlie Kirk interacted with people that he differed from, the irony of all ironies is that Jimmy Kimmel is not funny. And he was actually taken off the air, not by Donald Trump, not by the FCC, but actually by Sinclair Media. Sinclair Media sent this note out on the eve of Jimmy Kimmel having that last statement, showing pure insensitivity and misinformation. That was what they talked about. And you can see here in the lead-in statement that Sinclair Media, the nation's largest affiliate to ABC, the channel that Charlie is on, objected to Jimmy's recent comments on the assassination of Charlie Kirk. As discussed with ABC earlier, Sinclair decided to indefinitely preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live beginning tonight. Following the discussions, ABC has suspended production of Jimmy Kimmel. So Jimmy Kimmel was never taken off the air by Donald Trump, by the FCC, or anything that he could say is fascist. The truth is that Jimmy Kimmel was taken off the air by his network and one of the largest affiliates of his network. So this was free market speaking. And this is actually a principled company, Sinclair, that has every right to raise the flag as a no vote on giving Jimmy Kimmel exposure to the national network. So Sinclair exercised their American right, their right as a shareholder, and this was, again, used as an example and contorted by the progressives and Jimmy Kimmel as an example of Donald Trump overstepping and being tyrannical. Well, J.D. Vance had something to say on this, specific to asking the FCC to take some action. But if we know now what J.D. didn't at that time, the FCC didn't take any action. They left it up to the free market. But again, I think it's important to see what J.D. had, which was really a voice of reason and a very reasonable thing to say in light of Jimmy Kimmel accusing Donald Trump and the FCC and taking him off the air when that wasn't the case.
He didn't actually say sorry to Charlie Kirk or his family. And the reason that so many people, including me, were so upset with what Jimmy Kimmel said is that he accused Charlie Kirk's murderer of being a MAGA or a right-wing American. It wasn't a joke. It was straight up disinformation. And I really wish Jimmy Kimmel would apologize for it. He didn't.
So again, this was misinformation, and this is one of the hallmarks, actually, of a truly tyrannical and fascist media. Jimmy Kimmel has never been a funny man. He's actually been the water carrier for the left and the progressive movement. What you see here with Jimmy, though, is important because when you look at his response and his criticism of comics that have come out and tried to be ultra extreme on the left, this is a clip, I think, that again screams of irony that actually Charlie Kirk posted when it came to Jimmy Kimmel. Let's have a listen.
It's the loud voices that scare people from saying what they believe and make you think twice about a joke or whatever, these things. And, a lot of their points are valid, but a lot of them are also just repulsive. And I mean, they repel people from, they go like, oh, you're no fun. I don't want to be around you. And I think that if you had to boil it down to like one thing, that's kind of what it is. It's like, oh, you're no fun. I don't want to be part of your group.
So again, he's right in that regard. When you're no fun and your job is to be funny, people have the right to turn the channel. That's exactly what they've done with Jimmy Kimmel. He's actually has the lowest ratings he's ever had in his career at ABC on late night. So Jimmy, the unfunny man, the unpatriotic man, and the man who is not expressing any gratitude for the multiples of millions of dollars that he's gotten on the back of the First Amendment. But what does he do? He runs the United Kingdom, of all places, where they're presently jailing people, saying that America and Donald Trump are fascists, all while England is practicing just that. So I'm curious what you think. What is the role that Jimmy Kimmel plays? If you look at history, I think it's quite clear that the true tyrannical governments, dictators, fascists, they always need a funny man. They always need somebody to be able to carry the message and carry the water. I believe Jimmy's role is ultimately this. He's the drumbeat of Trump bad, Joe Biden good, Trump bad, Trump bad. And if he says it enough times, what you're going to have is a flood, right? Flooding the zone with these talking points where the other controlled media groups and the fake news can run these hits over and over again. And for those low IQ voters that Rush Limbaugh talked about many, many years ago, they just need to hear the hit piece. They need to hear that negative drumbeat from people like Jimmy so that they can feel better about having illogical views, impassioned views, and in this instance with Charlie Kirk, very dangerous views that lead to very dangerous violence. So this is no funny, laughing matter, but it's fairly ironic to see, again, that Jimmy Kimmel has not learned his lesson, the Sinclair lesson, if you will. He's going to continue to take his position of privilege, protected by America's First Amendment, and run now internationally to the tyrants across the WEF, right? Go across to all of Western Europe talking about how bad Orange Man is. This is carrying the water for the globalists. This is not factually true. And it's something that, again, speaks to Jimmy's true privilege being in California and protected by our First Amendment. So if you've yet to subscribe to America First Alerts, please do so. We have news stories just like this every day. We bring you conservative news and commentary on some of the most important stories from the day. If you've yet to do so, please do like this video and leave a comment down below. Join the conversation on what you feel is really behind Jimmy Kimmel's actions and what we should be doing with people like Jimmy Kimmel. I don't believe that he should be canceled. I think it's important to have the dialogue no matter if I disagree with it. That is the point of the First Amendment, and that is actually one of the pivotal foundations of what we should all be remembering from Charlie Kirk. Let me know if you agree in the comments down below, and we'll see you in the next video.
Okay, let's go.